Hello, my creeplings. I pose a question to you. What do you get when you mix Faust, the Phantom of the Opera, the Portrait of Dorian Gray, and 70s era excess? You get the movie we're talking about tonight, Brian De Palma's Phantom of Paradise. I love this movie. This is a perfect example of excessive 70s cinema. This is right up there with Rocky Horror Picture Show and just Hair. Some of those musicals that showed up in the late 70s. Oh, this is more the early 70s. So we'll say the 70s into the 80s that were just over the top and like, there's no word to describe it. They're 70s cinema to me. I've not found an adequate word to describe these. But on to the show here, on to the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. This film was written and directed by Brian De Palma, who gave us Carrie. And I think the first Mission Impossible. And a bunch of other great movies. This was I think this might have been his first, or one of his, it was definitely an early feature-length film for him. The man lucked out and managed to get Paul Williams to not only do the songs, like the stuff that's sung, but the score as well. Now you're probably scratching your head going, Paul Williams, where do I know that name from? Paul Williams is the man who gave a lot of the songs to the Muppets for their feature films. Paul Williams was responsible for the Rainbow Connection. And he did this. Also, if you're a Gen X or geriatric millennial, you may remember a movie called Frog, which is a modern-day retelling of the Frog Prince, with a kid named Arlo, played by Scott Grimes. Paul Williams was Gus, the frog, the voice of Gus the Frog. So, Paul Williams and I go way back with Paul Williams' work. I've never actually met the man. If I did, I'd probably crap my pants with happiness. He was a huge part of my childhood and my teenage years because of this. I discovered this probably when I was 15 or 16 because Flicks showed it, and we had just gotten Flicks in our cable rotation, and I was watching a lot of that because it was showing a lot of interesting films. We have Paul Williams also plays our villain, Swan. And he sings for the Phantom character later. William Finley plays our Phantom, Winslow Leach. I don't remember him from much more. He may have stopped really working before my time. I know him from this. We have Jessica Harper as Phoenix. Now, Jessica Harper's done a lot of genre work. She's been in a Dario Argento film called Suspiria. And you remember in Dr. Giggles when I mentioned Cliff DeYoung doing a sequel to Rocky Horror? She was Janet to his Brad in Shock Treatment. The girl's got a set of pipes. They're very unique, and I enjoy her singing very, very much. And she's just so angelic looking and so delicate. She seems like a beautiful soul. We've got a character actor named Garrett Graham. He's done a lot of stuff. He's been in a couple of Star Trek episodes. He's in the genre movies Terror Vision. God, he's been in so much. I just, it's all like, what, stop. The guy's worked quite a bit. He plays a character called Beef. We'll get into Beef later. And then we have George Momoli as a character named Arnold Philbin. He's usually referred to as Philbin. Now this name, the character name, is a nod to Mary Philbin, who played the original Christine in the silent Phantom of the Opera. And then Rod Serling, not Sterling, I do that all the time, I apologize. Rod Serling of The Twilight Zone does the opening narration. He's uncredited, but it is him. Other than that, side note, Sissy Spacek actually worked as the set dresser on this movie, and that's how she found out Brian De Palma was doing a horror movie next, which got her auditioning for one of her most iconic parts. So, thank you to this movie for giving us Carrie. So on to the story. Okay. Everybody knows the basic story of Phantom of the Opera, and a lot of that is outlined here. Our Phantom, our Eric, is Winslow Leach. He's a songwriter. He's writing a cantata, basically kind of an opera, I believe. I'm not 100% sure of the terminology, about the story of Faust, where a man sells his soul to the devil for, I think in this case, to become a pop star or a music star. Swan hears it and he's like, oh, this is going to be perfect for me to open up my my theater, the Paradise. Hence we get Phantom of the Paradise. Swan is your typical media mogul, or in this case music mogul, that they tell you to stay away from. He'll make you or break you. He'll make you sign contracts. He will take what he wants, and that's exactly what he does. He convinces Philbin, or he tells Philbin to go convince Winslow to give him his cantata, and he will call him back. Well, he just stole it. He had no intention of calling Winslow Leach back. So a month later, Winslow goes to follow up, gets kicked out of Swan's record company called Death Records. Although, side note, it was supposed to be called Swan Song Records, I believe. And I believe Led Zeppelin owned, I don't have it in my notes. But Led Zeppelin had something to do. I think they may have had a Swan Song label or a Swan Song as a title of a song that they had trademarked or something. So they couldn't use it. But you'll see notes and little bits of it in set dressing. So it had changed from Swan Song to Death Records. So if you see the two, it's all meant to be Swan's record company. So Winslow follows Swan's car. He has a taxi follow him to Swan's home, which is a beautiful mansion, where he's auditioning. Yeah, the casting couch gets pulled out. Girls for parts in Faust. This is where Winslow meets Phoenix, and he's entranced by her. He's like, in his mind, she's the only one who can sing his music. Sound very similar to the Phantom and Christine? Yeah. Winslow gets found out and kicked out, so he dresses up as a woman to get in, ends up getting found out and kicked out again, and this time he's framed for drug possession with intent to distribute, and they sentence him to life in prison in Sing Sing prison. So I'm assuming this takes place in New York, because that's a real prison in New York State, if I remember correctly, Sing Sing. I think they just picked that because the music thing. Well, Winslow ends up getting volunteered for a experimental dental procedure where they rip his teeth out and replace them with stainless steel ones. He looks really freaky. And this is just step one. He's working on his prison job, which in this one they're assembling Tiddlywinks games for the manufacturers. One of the guards is listening to a radio, and they're talking about Swan's cantata and Faust as being a big hit, released by the Juicy Fruits, which is a band that Swan manages. They're based on that nostalgia kick of of the 70s, where it was like Grease was it was a nostalgia for the 50s. Oh God, what was the name of the band? Sha Na Na was one of the bands that would be an example of this. This movie is a good example of what was going on musically in the early 70s. This was released in 1974, so you had the nostalgia for that 50s sound and look with like Sha Na Na was putting stuff out like that. And then this band ends up morphing into a couple different things by the end of it all. He goes crazy. Like, he literally is like, crazy. Assaults a guard, escapes, makes it to the record factory, starts destroying records, goes to destroy the press, ends up slipping on a few records and getting his face pressed instead. It's gnarly. It's not like a super gross thing, but when you see what happened to him, it's gnarly. Jumps into the East River, they presume him dead. Oh no. He goes full Phantom, sneaks into the Paradise, steals a really cool looking bird helmet. This is the icon. You will see this on every poster. And it looks really, really freaking cool. And then an outfit complete with black cape lined with silver, was a bit over dramatic. Rather than just hiding, grabbing some black pants and a black shirt and a hood and hiding. Oh no. He goes full prima donna. And the Juicy Fruits had been changed to the Beach Bums, which is a very Beach Boys-esque thing. And they're now rehearsing for Faust, which has been changed to fit this Beach Bums theme. Yeah, Faust goes through so many changes because they're chasing trends. It's ridiculous. It kind of gives you whiplash. And again, this is Swan's thing. Winslow sabotages the rehearsal by blowing up a car. I can't remember if there are casualties or not. But Swan sees him, and Swan's pretty smart, figures 2 and 2. And he, of course, entices Winslow. He's like, I can give you back your voice. You can write your cantata. We'll do it your way. I promise. Winslow's like, I don't trust you. He's like, come on, just give me a chance. Trust me. And Winslow trusts him to a point where he gets a voice box, which allows him to speak. You can plug him into the recording studio and he can sing. Now he sounds like Paul Williams when he sings, but he can sing. He convinces Swan to audition girls, and Phoenix shows up and he's like, that's the one. And Swan's like, oh yeah, she's good. And he's like, I give you, I think, a week. I need you to rewrite your cantata for Phoenix, and we'll put it on, and you'll be a hit and everything, but I just need you to sign this contract. I kid you not. Think regular size printer paper, stack that thick for the contract. Now, I did get a look at some of the pages. It's very ornately done. It probably could have been typed to that thick, but yeah, he has Winslow and himself signed in blood because ink means nothing to him. We go through montage of writing and rehearsing, and Swan decides that Phoenix is too perfect, so he's going to regulate her to a background singer, and he's looking for the new thing, and he finds it in a character named Beef. Beef is a perfect example of the 70s Alice Cooper glam rock, creep rock. So if you take Kiss and Alice Cooper and mix it with, like, I want to say the New York Dolls, that's kind of the idea you're getting for Beef and his backup band, which I believe is the Undeads. Yeah, the Undead. Beef is very built and very much a prima donna and very, very swishy when he's not singing. It's funny, the dichotomy of we have a lispy, swishy muscle man and then this glam rock god coming out of the same character, Garrett Graham. Yes, thank you. And they take on this whole kind of Frankenstein look for the Faust cantata again. It's changed. Winslow, night of the first performance, corners Beef in his dressing room in the shower. Beef is singing his music, and Winslow does not like it. Plugs his face up with a toilet plunger, which I thought, ew, gross, and tells him, you are not to ever sing my music again. Not here, not publicly, not ever. Do you understand that? Beef decides he's going to try and split, but Philbin catches him and says, no, you're going to go on. He goes on. We get a really cool musical number with... Now, you know they staged this. Swan and company staged this with people in the front row and the second row as, co-conspirators, but they're chopping off body parts, and it's quite obviously a fake gag. And I think it's supposed to. This is where I say they got the Alice Cooper thing going on, but his shows are so much better. And they keep throwing these body parts to these nurses that kind of look like Magenta from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And they're sewing the body together, and then Beef comes to life and starts singing this yet another version of a song from the Faust cantata. And Winslow takes him out. Very cool way, with a neon light and some electrocution. It's a good takedown. The crowd is screaming, going nuts. Swan's like, tells Philbin to get Phoenix out there to sing to calm them down, and everybody loves her. So Swan, of course, switches gears and has now decided to back Phoenix. It doesn't seem like it takes very long. It's like a week, and she's already signed a contract on cocaine and marrying Swan live on television at the conclusion of the live televised production of Faust. It's getting really over the top and really 70s at this point. Winslow, of course, goes nuts. Swan had tried to brick him into his little hidey hole he had been hiding him in, and I don't know how this man Berserker raged through a metal door and a brick wall, but I'm gonna cuss. That bastard did. They don't show how he did it, but they show the aftermath. There was a point earlier, I know I'm jumping around like crazy, that Winslow spied on Swan and Phoenix, and they're kind of getting it on. It's alluded to. So Winslow tries to kill himself. He can't die for some reason. Tries to kill Swan when Swan confronts him, and Swan won't die. Swan's like, I'm under contract too. So while all of this production is going on, Winslow's trying to figure out what's going on, and he finds it. It's a videotape. And we're talking like, these look like reel-to-reel audio tapes, big canister videotape, early days, of Swan selling his soul to the devil. So Swan's under contract as well. This is where the picture of Dorian Gray comes in. Swan won't age as long as that videotape exists. The videotape ages instead of him. Videotape gets destroyed, Swan starts to age and get crusty. So, of course, Winslow sets the whole damn room on fire and goes running to the stage where you find out Swan, for some reason, he hatches the weirdest, most over-the-top schemes. He's got Philbin playing the priest marrying them. He's planning on killing Phoenix. And Winslow manages to, as soon as she says, till death do they part, Winslow manages to stop the assassination. Unfortunately, Philbin gets it in the head instead. And then the crowd starts to go nuts. They swarm the stage, and Winslow makes his way down there. Now, at this point, he's starting to bleed out because his wound is starting to open. Because he rips the mask off of his face, because Swan can't be photographed because it'll show the age, and since he's being recorded live for television, he's got this cheesy plastic mask over his face. Rip that off. He's got ulcers and is starting to age and look funky. Then we get to, again, I think this was inspired kind of in a roundabout way by an Alice Cooper issue with the chicken. Winslow grabs, these dancers are in these very scanty Black Swan-esque costumes with these really ornate bird head headdresses. He grabs one of the headdresses and just starts stabbing Swan. And so does everyone who stormed the stage. Like, everyone's stabbing him. They pick him up and crowd surf him, and everyone's stabbing him. Phoenix is finally starting to come out of her drug-induced stupor. And She realizes that, yes, this is Winslow. He had confronted her earlier and she didn't believe it. And he's dying on the stage. And the closing shots are of her basically laying over. I think she's crying over his dead body. I love this movie. It's not high on gore. I wouldn't even say it's really a horror movie, although it does take some elements of classic horror. This is definitely one I watched during Halloween season. It speaks to me. The way they shot this is very comic booky, cartoony. Another good example of what I'm talking about is it kind of feels like the original Creepshow in some of the ways that it was shot. Instead of using comic book panels, so they're using television screens, and the editing just keeps you going at a frenetic pace. You cannot not pay attention. At one point there's a split screen with the Beach Bums, during their rehearsal, what's going on stage and what's going on backstage, and they're running concurrently. So you really got to pay attention to what's going on. I had to watch that scene a couple times. Again, the music, it's everywhere, but all together. You open up with the Juicy Fruits with the 50s nostalgia package. Then you slide into the Beach Bums and their 60s era surf rock. And then you go into Phoenix auditioning, and it's like that 70s soft rock, kind of Joni Mitchell-esque sound. And then you end on a full-blown Alice Cooper, Kiss-esque precursor to goth rock craziness. The costuming is beautiful. It is the height of 70s fashion. The glam rock is so well represented with Beef and the Undead. Jessica Harper's outfits are quintessentially 70s daily glam. She has these 2 feather coats that are just amazing. Paul Williams, for such a little, he's a tiny man. I think he clocks in at like 5'2" or something, but they dress him so well. He's almost always in like 3-piece suits, or at one point he's got a Mandarin collar kind of top. It's not a Nehru jacket, but it's definitely very Eastern inspired. Everything's tailored to fit him well. It's really great. His bodyguards all look like Hell's Angels of the era. Costuming was well done. The makeup effects were cheesy, but I think they were meant to be. I felt like De Palma was really playing with genre in this one, because he went on to do a very classic, straightforward horror film after this. Like I said, if you are a fan of musicals like I am, I highly suggest films like this. This is one, they used to apparently show this as a double bill with Rocky Horror a lot of times. Now, granted, this was almost always the second show, and a lot of people wouldn't stick around with it, but I know I would. If we started doing midnight showings in movies theaters again, which I think needs to be a thing, guys. Local theaters, let's make this a thing. Or, maybe not, if you don't want to be open till midnight, maybe some random Friday night at like 10 o'clock. Once a month or something. I really think, maybe we'll talk about midnight movies one time. And, I would love to host a midnight movie night. I have nowhere to host it. I wouldn't even be able to do it virtually from here because I live in a very tiny apartment. But, yeah, one day that would be kind of fun. This is definitely your 70s midnight movie, though. But it was so well done that you want to go, oh my God, this is so cheesy. But it's good cheesy. It's that mozzarella cheese stick you really wanted. Not the what slice of off-brand American cheese that you didn't want, but you want something cheesy and you want it right now. But yeah, Phantom of the Paradise, one of my top 20 seasonal movies. Definitely in my top 10 favorite musicals of all times. And I do like all kinds of musicals. I love The Wizard of Oz. I love, what else would be considered a normal? Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. I love a lot of stuff by Stephen Sondheim that's not Sweeney Todd. I love Sweeney Todd, but I'm just saying he's done other stuff that's nowhere near as weird. I love that stuff. But I would still put this up there. Probably higher than some of the Sondheim stuff. If you're a Brian De Palma fan, definitely check this out. If you are interested in the subject of morbid musicals, check this out. Again, if you're a fan of like Phantom of the Opera in general, or Faust, and you want to see how those two and Dorian Gray, those three all mixed together to create a cohesive story, check it out. I got this at my local library. I believe you can find it on the Internet Archive. All hail the Internet Archive. Thank you. Go watch this film. I'm not going to say you're not going to regret it, because some people just really don't like musicals and some people just really don't like films from the 70s. But go watch it. Give it a chance. You know, have a 70s night. Get your bell bottoms out. Get your polyester out. Get into it. Really enjoy it. And then go listen to the Rainbow Connection and other Paul Williams songs that he didn't do for this and laugh your butt off. On that note, though, I say again, thank you. And good night, my creeplings. And I'll see you next time. Bye.